The mid-season 4 changes are here. We're going to discuss about the new game mode, hero changes, and quality of life changes, plus some other bug fixes that is listed on the patch. So let's get to it. There's this 4v4 game mode attached to this one-off story of Overwatch. The story goes is that there are some rebels that team up with Doomfist, aka Bonebreaker, to rescue 3-channeled -0, which is just basically Echo spelled more elaborately. Like she's those gamer tags from the old school Xbox 360s, and your job is to rescue her ass from the Infinite Empire starship. This is all fun in theory, but this game mode is so unbalanced. The rebel side is just weak. Like they can't output enough consistent damage to beat the other team, which is why the Infinite Empire is probably just dominating right now. Like you have 2 tanks on the rebel side, which is just Winston and Ball. Winston could carry if you know how to play him, but the problem is Diva's on the other side. Diva can heavily negate a lot of Winston's value. And sure, you can switch to Ball, but that's not going to help your team either way. Like the rebel side is just severely handicapped compared to the Empire side. They even have to go up against a shit ton of turrets before you could even have a chance to have a fair team fight. The other team just has overwhelming firepower and constant healing from Mercy. The only advantage the rebel has is Doomfist, but this fool runs in there and dies most of the time and doesn't even do anything useful. Maybe it's just a skill issue on my part, which I am going to accept responsibility, but I think the rebels just don't stand a chance. The only way you can make this game mode balance is if you make Doomfist a playable tank in the game mode, or just turn up the AI for Doomfist or something, because he's just going there getting himself killed anyways. On the plus side, this game mode will give you a lot of freebies just from finishing the event challenges. You'll be able to get a free skin, some sprays, and a crap ton of battle pass XP. The challenges aren't too difficult, so you guys should be able to complete a whole tier of the battle pass just from the event challenges. Alright, next up, Battle for Olympus is returning. They're actually bringing back that game mode that we played a while back, but instead of playing free-for-all, you get to play a team deathmatch version of it. And also, if you care about it, there's gonna be a statue of Junkrat Queen on the map when she allegedly won that event a couple months ago. I don't see this game mode at all currently in the Overwatch rotation. I checked in the arcade and it was nowhere to be found, so I'm assuming it's gonna be added in after the Starwatch event is over. However, you all know the real winner from the Battle of the Olympus event is Lucio, so if you see Junkrat Queen on that statue, that's false information. I don't know where they got that information from. Alright, some general updates they've added to the game. When you are dead, you can now say group up. Thank God they did that. I know it might be annoying to see them spam group up, but people really need that reminder. When you're in the middle of tunnel visioning and you're in this bloodthirsty mode, it's kind of hard to pay attention to your surroundings. So allowing us to spam group up will hopefully convey the message that we already died, the team fight is lost, and we really should group up. Another change they did is with alternate comms. If you guys didn't know, there's alternate comms to the group up and need healing button. Your character will either say I'm with you or come to me for healing, or some other dialogue that I don't know. But there's an option now you can just turn it off and just dedicate them to just say group up or need healing. The reason why you want to do this is because sometimes you get the wrong message across because of that alternate comms. So turning this option off will at least alleviate some of the confusion if you don't want to just join voice comms. Another small change they did for Junkrat Queen is she can ping targets behind the wall now. The only catch is you have to stick them with your throwing knife first, but you'll only have a small window before you lose line of sight with them, and you'll have a second or two to ping them behind the wall. Apparently I didn't notice, but Zen can also do this. Like if you discord someone and they go behind cover, you can still ping them through walls. Another change they did with the game is they changed the push mode just slightly. So for the team that has forward spawn enabled, they will add about 2 seconds to their spawn delay. So in total, you're going to have to wait for 12 seconds. The developers say it's because it's giving him too much advantage. So this change might alleviate some of the pain of playing this game mode. Honestly, I don't know how 2 seconds is going to make a difference, but in a very competitive setting like in comp mode, maybe those 2 seconds are the difference between a win and a loss. So interesting change. I probably will forget about it in a couple of days. Alright, for matchmaking, they had a little paragraph here. So they said the MMR decay will quickly calibrate people who have been gone for a certain time. So let's say a player put Overwatch on the shelf for a little bit. The MMR system can now accurately recalibrate them to whatever skill tier they belong once they come back from the game. They did go into matchmaking a little deeper in the blog post. I will cover that in another video, so stay subscribed to see that video, or just check back in a couple days and I'll link it down in the description. Another funky comp game mode they're gonna add is competitive deathmatch, and that will start on May 16th. I think Blizzard is just allowing comp players to try another game mode other than the standard role queue or open queue. So I think there's some diehard comp only players that just refuse to play anything other than comp, so at least they'll get to try another game mode and probably spice up the game for them. Alright, now we're gonna move on to the juicy hero changes, starting with Junkrat Queen. Junkrat Queen is the main topic of this hero change because she is actually pretty good after this patch. They increased her ammo count, which basically means you'll be able to dish out more shots to your enemies. They also increased the size of her throwing knife, so you'll be more likely to to land your knife at someone, and her ult will do 40 damage upon impact but will only do 60 wound damage over time. And now for the biggest change that makes Junkrat Queen so powerful after this patch is that she can heal 2 times the damage just from her adrenaline passive. This single change is probably going to make Junkrat Queen picked at every single match you come across. The reason why is because she can sustain herself without the need for a healer. So if you're running an open queue match and no one wants to be healer, you can just honestly just pick her and just do it yourself. So I did some number crunching. Let's say you single out a target and you throw a knife and then use your axe at them. You'll get 60 HP from the knife if you hit it, then you can get 80 from the axe. Now that's not even the most OP part. Let's say there's a lot of enemies grouped up at a choke point. The more people you hit with your axe, the shorter the cooldown timer gets. So theoretically, you could keep swinging your axe, applying bleed damage for a long time and sustain yourself without the need of a healer. And what makes this great for the support players is that they don't need to throw a lot of resources to keep you alive, and they could just focus their efforts on either healing the other teammates or just focusing down a single enemy, which will make Junkrat Queen a really intimidating character on the battlefield, especially at the front lines. One thing I discovered from my testing is, let's say you see an enemy that's really close to dying and you can just melee them to get them killed faster, right? I would advise you to just hold on for a second. Normally I would advise people to just melee them to get it over with, but in Junkrat Queen's case, she has a special ability that could net her more health if you use your axe. So if you axe a target that's really low health, you'll get a lot of instant health back, because a couple of patches ago they made it so that if you apply the bleed effect on someone before they die, you'd usually miss out on that extra HP that they would have gave you if they had more health. But after this change, even if they only have 10 HP back and you go ahead and give them the axe, they will give you around 100 HP of health back instantly without having to wait for the bleed effect to suck the life out of them. If you want to maximize the amount of healing, try to incorporate this very niche advice to instantly regain health. But overall, expect to see more Junkrat Queen in your matches, so prepare to counter her with either Suzu from Kiriko or Biotic Grenade from Ana to prevent her from healing herself. Now for Orisa, they increased her projectile damage to 13 instead of 12. The devs say her abilities are what makes her viable, but she's underperforming compared to the other tanks. Increasing her damage might make her more of a threat, but she needs to close a distance first. That is true. She really isn't a threat until she's within 10-ish meters of the enemy. That's when she can really do damage, but even at 20 meters, she can still cause some problems if the Orisa can land some headshots on the enemy team. Overall, not a pretty significant change in my opinion. Alright, for Winston, rejoice my Winston mains. It's time to return to Monkey and play some Winston, because they kind of gave him a small buff. They basically just increased the radius of Winston's leap so you can fully damage a character at a larger radius than before. The reason why you'd want this is because once they get out of a certain radius, Winston's leap damage just decreases. The devs say it can get hard to land leap damage because you really need to be standing close to the enemy to damage them significantly. So by increasing his leap damage, they hope to improve his consistency. It might not seem a lot, but I think this is gonna be those sleeper changes that will drastically change the pick rate for a character. In Winston's case, if you have a lot of enemies that are grouped up, since they increase the damage radius of the jump, you might be able to build your ult faster. However, I think the more advanced Winston players already know get really close to your enemies because of his burst combo you can kind of do when you melee before you land. It's a very useful burst combo to know, and it kind of helps me surprise some of the healers I decide to target. Like, it really catches them off by surprise. Overall, many impactful changes to the Winston players, so possibly expect to see more Winston players in your game. The shield ability for Hammond is getting reduced to 7 seconds, and it's because the developers thinks it forgives Wrecking Ball way too much in a fight. It's very rare that I run into a ball player, but when I do, they're annoying as hell. They're just relentlessly hunting down my supports, and sometimes it forces our team to just babysit them. I mean, good for the other team though, but now with this change, I think Wrecking Ball might become an opportunistic predator, where he will only strike when he knows he can for sure finish off the target quickly. That 2 seconds might not be significant for non-ball players, but for those that just one-trick this character, it might be a huge nerf. I'd like to think if the whole team is focusing the ball, his HP won't last as long as it usually would, so the ball player might disengage a lot sooner than we're used to. Echo had the most surprising changes to me. They actually reduced her ult cost by 25%, meaning she will get her ult more often, but the trade-off is you will rarely get 2 ults from her 1 ult now. It's because the developers want to stop players from just trying to get 2 ults for the price of 1. Instead, try to shift the focus on duplicating the right target for that team fight. This kind of sucks because I do love it when I'm able to get 2 ults for the price of 1, because I'm kind of bad at the game. It's not often that I can do that. Let's say you duplicate Orion. You don't even get the big health pool a tank should have. You get that tiny ass health pool that they give every tank in arcade mode. So even though you duplicate yourself as a tank, you won't survive as long as the other tank. And it doesn't help that you're an eyesore on the battlefield, so you're naturally going to be targeted by every enemy player that's still alive. So farming that second ult rarely happens to me, so I'm kind of sad you can't get 2 ults for the price of 1 anymore. It might sound like I don't like this change, but I really believe it's the right change to do. When I play Echo, I tend to hoard my ult for the perfect opportunity. With this change, I can actually be more flexible with who I duplicate. Let's say our healer died early in the fight. What I can do if I have my ult as Echo is I can copy the Mercy on the other team and just res that healer real quick to get them back in the fight. And then I can damage boost some important player making moves on the battlefield. And hopefully they will do enough that I could get my ult and hopefully sway the battle in our favor. Without this change, I don't think I would have comfortably done that before, because I would have been hesitant and be like, I don't think that's the right move. I should probably save my ult for the tank. But I think this is going to be a good change. I really do think the developers had great reasoning, but I'm still not happy. I'll miss the days when I could just solo ult their Ryan 3 times in one fight. Alright, for Junkrat, he's getting a buff. Okay, why do y'all keep buffing Junkrat? It's never fun dying against a Junkrat. He literally reminds me of a noob tuber from MW2. Like, I wanted that era of gaming to stay buried, but here it is returning in the form of buff in Overwatch 2. So what they actually did for his kit is they increased his damage to 110, so it's not quite the 120 damage from February, but it's still bad. It's because the developers think they lowered the effectiveness of Junkrat's grenades and mind combo too much, so they're increasing it slightly. Okay, isn't the goal of nerfing it in the first place to get rid of all the annoying one-shot combos? Like, at this rate, you might as well give Hog his hook back and give Sigma his rock combo back while you're at it. I still believe Junkrat was doing fine before. He wasn't so stupid easy to play that you can just turn off your brain and play him. Overall, this change really made me upset, but we still gotta talk about the other heroes in this lineup, so I'm just gonna move on. For Ana, oh god, they nerfed Ana again, and I'm not happy with it. They reduced Ana's explosion healing again, so now it will do 60 burst healing. Okay, first they reduced the effect duration of Ana's grenade, then began to reduce her sleep dart's effectiveness against tanks, and now they're targeting Ana's burst healing. Like, come on guys, give Ana a break. She did not lose her eye to Widowmaker just so you guys can nerf her this much. Like, let my girl thrive and stop nerfing her. But if you want explanation on why she's getting nerfed, it's because the developers think Ana won't need that extra healing anymore because of the support passive, which I don't think is a good reason, because that grenade is not meant for her, it's meant for the rest of the team. The only time an Ana should use it for herself is if she's trying to prevent her death from a tank that's just diving her non-stop. This wouldn't be a problem if you guys didn't just cut her sleep duration by 30%. Overall, I don't like the reasoning that they gave for this change. It seems like it doesn't make sense to me at all. It seems like they're just nerfing her for no reason at all, and I expect the next patch they're probably just gonna remove her sleep dart entirely. Baptiste Immortality Field has a cooldown of 23 seconds now, and it's because the developers want to see more flexibility usage out of it, and maybe see it used more than once per engagement. Dude, if you want to achieve this goal, you're gonna need to reduce that cooldown a lot more than that. A discount of 2 seconds might still cause a lot of BAP players to hoard their Immortality Field. The problem when I play BAP is I hold on to his ability way too much, and not really get a chance to use it. I need to get in the habit of just throwing it just to enable some of my teammates to build their ult, but I rarely use it to save my teammate from anything. Most of the time, it's just a tool for me to use to escape or something. If they really want to see it used more often, drop the cooldown a lot more. Like, I'd say about 18 seconds, which is a lot, but hopefully some new BAP players can get some practice out of it before it just completely goes away. For Kiriko, they allowed you to change a setting where your reload will be interrupted by your healing. Meaning if you're out of ammo and you decide to heal real quick, you might get stuck in this never-ending cycle of trying to reload. But if you're wondering why you can't reload, it's because your healing button might be interrupting it. So to mitigate this problem, they added a setting to change it. I'd recommend to change it. It's less things to worry about in a team fight, and if you have this setting turned on and you hit reload, you'll know your kunais will be reloaded by the time you hold down your healing button. I'd say this is a great change overall. I don't think it ever bothered me at all, but it's supplementing my experience in Overwatch, so I'd say it's a good change. For Lifeweaver, they made it so that you can't life grip Ryan during his Earth Shatter. I didn't really think it was a problem. If anything, it made the game more fun when it does accidentally happen, but I think this is just catering to the Ryan players that tend to throw out their ults when they just drop below 50 HP. I mean, the best way to prevent this accident from happening is communicating that your ult is coming up, because naturally, if we don't communicate our intentions, how do they expect us to predict what's gonna happen? Like, when their health is critical, I'm just gonna assume you need immediate exfil. So if you decide to solo ult, that's on you, man. You didn't watch your health. I do think this is significant because this will be a precedence that they will use in the near future when they decide to pick another hero to prevent life grip from working on. I'm gonna guess Ramattra's probably gonna be the next hero, but who knows? I kinda like that the hero had that much control because it made me feel like Spider-Man, where with great power comes great responsibility. Unfortunately, I was never really responsible with his abilities, so it caused a lot more funny accidents to happen. Alright, now we're gonna move on to the massive customization options they've added for every hero. The basic gist of all this changes is that you can remove a lot of the distracting moving parts on your character for certain abilities. So if you're one of those people that are thinking there are too much moving parts for their hero and just want to simplify everything, you can now have the option to do so. There's too much to go over, but if you main a certain hero hero, go check out the individual hero settings for your character and just play around and see what you can turn on, turn off. Personally, I like all the extra information that the game throws at me. It's kind of cool to look at, but others might find it distracting. So it's good that the individual player has the option to remove it if they choose to. If you want to hold the ability instead of toggling it, you can now do so as well. Think of Soldier 76. You can either toggle his sprint on and off, or you can just hold it down. I think for most people, they just leave it toggled. Now with this change, whichever hero has the ability to just toggle their ability on or off, certain heroes now have the option to just hold their ability button instead of just toggling it. So for example, Doomfist Power Block, you can just hold it now instead of just pressing the button. Orisa's Javelin Spin can do something similar. Ryan's Charge, you can now hold it instead of just pressing a button. So basically any hero that has the same button to toggle the ability off will have the option to just hold it instead. Personally, I don't see a reason to hold it. I feel like leaving it on the toggle setting is the superior choice. There's a lot of moving parts in this game, and having to hold an ability would just cost you a fight at some point in your life. But the goal here is customization, so at least you have the option to change it. Overall, I do like this change because that's what makes Overwatch so cool to play. You can really customize Overwatch however you want. If you think the standard WASD configuration for movement is overrated, you can literally change it to the direction keys on your keyboard if you wanted to. Even a disabled gamer can really enjoy this game to their liking. For some of them, like there might be some keys that they're not able to press normally, but since Overwatch is so good at letting you customize which buttons to press anyways, these gamers can adjust the game to however they want. I even saw some guy playing Winston with bananas. Overall, these quality of life changes are great for everyone, even though I know some of them might just leave them on default, but I'm just glad that they added them in to give a player extra customization options. Alright, moving on to the bug fixes. There's a lot of bug fixes. I'll only go over the ones I find interesting, but if you want to see all the little bug fixes, the link will be in the description. In the map Antarctic Peninsula, they removed a large misplaced shadow near the capture point in the labs area. So don't freak out if you saw this. It's not the shadow people trying to attack you. It's just a bug, and now it's fixed. And the map Esperanza, you can break the vases now. Like, who asked for this? Someone was so bothered by the indestructible vases that they requested the developers to change it. Shambali Monastery got a bug fix. Some of the areas on the map would eat projectiles. Okay, this isn't the first time I've talked about this. I'm convinced this map is cursed or something. This map is actually alive and it feeds on conflict and projectiles to keep sustaining itself. Spooky, right? Ash had a fix to her accuracy. It sometimes becomes inconsistent during a jump or other movements. So don't worry, if you miss your shots on Ash, it's because it's the game's fault and not your own fault. So don't feel discouraged. Just blame the game. Brig got a bug fix too. Apparently her armor wasn't working right. So now they actually fixed it. So if you ever felt like you were dying often, that might be why. For Doomfist, they fixed a bug with the power block not correctly reducing the area of effect damage. And they also fixed a bug with the empowered buff from the meteor strike not counting towards the empowered rocket punch stat. So this might look good on the surface, but one of my favorite Doomfist players of all time, Mr. Get Quaked On, reported that the Doomfist power block is actually broken. There are some instances where the block just doesn't completely work, and it will be as if you didn't even have a block ability. You will still sustain full damage. This also means Ramatra's block doesn't work either. So if you're wondering why you die so quickly as Doomfist, it's because his power block doesn't work. It doesn't reduce any of the damage. However, they did say they just hotfixed his ability, so it's now working. However, if you move around in the power block stance now, the power block doesn't work all of a sudden just because you moved. So their previous attempt to fix it is now still broken. So if I were you, I would probably avoid Doomfist for a little bit, maybe even Ramatra, until their block is at least fixed. If you guys play Doomfist, I recommend you guys to subscribe to Get Quaked On. He's the first one that I saw to report the bug. So if you want to stay in touch with any Doomfist news about the bugs, just subscribe to him and he'll tell you. So for Kiriko, they actually fixed a bug where her swift step would sometimes get players stuck in the map. I don't know if that bug is still going around, where if a tank is crouching, you cannot teleport to them, but they should probably work on fixing that first. Because this is a pretty major bug, but I'm sure they're probably working on it. They fixed a bug for Genji where if you're deflecting Kiriko or Lifeweaver's healing projectiles, they did not heal your teammates, so now they're going to be able to heal your teammates. If you guys didn't know, you can actually deflect Kiriko's papers and Lifeweaver's fancy little light show back at your teammates to heal them. So if you really need to heal someone in pinch, maybe you could probably steal some of their healing. Right, that's all the changes for the mid-season patches for Season 4. Go ahead and let me know if you guys like some of the changes they did. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions, so go ahead and comment down below. I do like to read all of them, so give me all your juicy comments and I'll promise I'll read them. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button and then subscribe to hit the channel grow. Until then guys, I'll see you on the next one.